This is Tiaan Gerber, and this is my 2013, well, so far 2013 gameplay game design showreel. I wanted to actually make it nice and simple, and actually just show a little neat little smorgasbord of what I'm able to do. So I've actually created a level. This is actually a game project that me and two other friends, Ehlers and Miguel Laranjera, we're working on it together. Planning on releasing it by end February and having a trailer ready already at the end of January this month. It's just a simple little game, little horror game. And these lights will basically just serve as the points of interest, and seeing that we're also adding some heavy fog, they'll also serve as your guide through the fog. They'll spawn randomly, just to keep the game dynamic and a little bit different every single time you play it. I just want to show off. Sorry, I'm rambling. I just want to show off my graphical skills, and what I can do in terms of graphics design, 3D modeling, and texturing, and yes, just general, even level design, just general game design, really. So yes, let me just quickly jump in for you guys. Okay, well, as you can see, it still does require a little bit of work. I've pretty much done the terrain myself, and using the Unity toolkit, terrain toolkit. Also textured it with textures that I've acquired and made seamless. Also with the terrain toolkit, in conjunction with Photoshop, of course. I used the stock grass of Unity and just manipulated it a little bit in Photoshop to make it seem a little bit more dead, get that creepy vibe. As for the trees, also created in Unity, using the tree creator. I've created 4 different types of trees so far, just to give a little bit more of variety. We're also adding a little bit of water, seeing if we can also add a shoreline later on. Struggling with it, but we are making progress. But yes, that is the game so far. I just want to show to you guys quickly with fog enabled, because it does make quite a difference. We've also added a modified cloud particle emitter, and we've attached it to the camera, to the first person camera, just to give that extra little bit of depth for the fog, as we just felt the Unity stock fog was more of a gray gradient than actually a real fog effect. Yeah, this way we can just get that depth of, walking through fog, and just makes it seem a little bit more alive. But yes, we're still adding a lot more elements. We want to add at least 2 or 3 more shrubs or bushes, just to give a little bit more of a variety on the vegetation. We're also adding some rocks and some dead logs and stumps, just to fill up a little bit more space and make it seem a little bit more lifelike. As for the texturing, sorry, I just want to go back on that. I did use procedural texturing with the terrain toolkit, but obviously just going over with the brush over some of the parts, just to add a little bit more detail. and get it fine-tuned. But yes, that is the game so far. Let me just quickly go to the specific elements. Oh yes, sorry, before I go to specific elements, let me just concentrate on these fires. These fires will still be manipulated, and yes, the coronas will also be manipulated, of course. Currently they're just serving as placekeepers. Yes, let me just quickly show you some elements. Okay, showing the elements. First of all, I just want to start off with the level. I think that's just a natural place to start. Of course, I started creating the level in the Unity terrain toolkit at first, using the procedural terrain sculpting at first, and then just bringing it down with some parameters, like erosion, all the different types of erosions, the hydraulic and so forth, and the wind erosion and so forth. And then obviously just shaping it manually with the brushes, with the height brushes, and the lower and higher brush, and of course the smoothing brushes. Then finally, basically next I took it into ZBrush and just added a little bit more. Subdivided it just to get it a little bit more detailed, and went through it with some brushes just to get a little bit more detail onto the terrain itself. And then I finally took it back in. Took it into Maya. Just to bring it down a little bit again, just for better game performance, and then finally I took it into Unity, where I textured it and started adding terrain elements such as the grass and the trees, and yes, still going to add a little bit more, but yes, stay tuned. Going to the next element. Okay, here's the next element. This is basically just a mesh that I created for the twigs, added to the dead trees, just to get that extra like little branch effect. I chose to use meshes just because they do seem to be best viewable from different angles, as well as shading a little bit better. Not to mention, I just feel I can manipulate them a little bit more, get them a little bit more specific. I'll later on show just all the textures that I've been doing as well, along with the other models. I don't want to limit myself just to models, so let's go on to the next element. Okay, just quickly want to show you guys some of the textures that I've been doing. Here are all the alpha texture materials. These are like the twigs and stuff, and the dead shrub that I still need to do. I got the dead shrub off the net and basically cleaned it out in Photoshop with color range and cropping tools and so forth, just to get it nice and cleaned up for the dead shrub. This was also done for all the twigs, and just getting them nice and cleaned up. As for the rock textures, I had some help with that. A friend of mine has a awesome garden at his house, and took some awesome textures for me. And yes, I've just made them procedural. this one's probably the best example, as I needed to basically crop basically just the focused area, and use the patch tool in Photoshop, along with the offset filter, of course, just to get it nice and seamless. I wanted a nice smooth bark, also color corrected it and color balanced it, and changed the contrast and brightness a little bit just to get it nice and suited for the game's visual look. Yes, and of course resizing it just to fit nicely onto the bark itself. I've still got some textures here needing to be made seamless for the boat. And yes, stay tuned for the last little bit of elements. Okay, this is the last little bit of element I want to show. I don't want to make this video too long. I feel that it's already reaching that inconvenient length. I do apologize. Also just want to apologize for the sound. I'm not using the best microphone, and yes, just all my ums and ahs and stalling for time. But yes, this is the boat model. I made the hull nice and smooth. I still need to smooth out the frame a little bit. Going to take it into ZBrush just to add a little bit more detail to it. Bring it back into Maya just to add the texturing and get it a little bit low quality again, just to fit nicely into the game. Sadly, it also needs to be crushed into little pieces. I'll use Maya Dynamics just to get that right. It's basically just going to serve as an origin point for the player at one of the 3 random spawning points at the dam, just to give that player that hopeless feeling of being shipwrecked on a little cornered off peninsula, and being chased by demons. Also just going to add some ores. I'll also be doing the rocks and the logs in Maya, and obviously taking them into ZBrush for some more detail with the brushes, and bringing them back into Maya again for the lower quality and the texturing, the shading. Yes, I think that's everything. I just want to thank everyone for spending this time, giving me this time. I really appreciate it. I know it's a very long video. I do apologize for that. I'll see how much I can crimp it down. Thank you. Enjoy the day.